On the dark night of the 8th of August, 1963, a Royal Mail train was travelling from Glasgow to London. In one of the train's cars, there were bags filled with cash, amounting to roughly £67 million at today's value. The train driver, Jack Mills, was driving the engine at speed through the darkness of the night. Suddenly, at a crossing, a red signal light flashed on. For the driver, this was an abnormal situation because at that time and at that location, the signal being red made no sense. Still, Jack Mills immediately applied the brakes and stopped the train on a deserted stretch of track. For a brief moment, silence spread everywhere. But hidden behind this silence was a master plan that was about to execute one of the biggest robberies of the century, the Great Train Robbery, in which the train itself was stopped and looted. Welcome once again to a Tales of the Past video. This may sound like a movie plot, but in real life, robbers carried out a suspense-filled plan and looted millions of pounds from Britain's government train, without firing a single bullet. It all began months earlier, when some well-known London criminals sat together and put their heads together to plan a new heist. Bruce Reynolds, the mastermind behind this plan, began working with a few of his associates to design an unprecedented robbery. He had received information from a senior security officer of Britain's National Postal Service, Royal Mail, whose identity was unknown to everyone. The information was that the train travelling from Glasgow to London had a special car known as the High Value Packages Car, HVP. On a particular day, an unusually large amount of cash would be transported in it, and this was the car they had to rob. Reynolds and his associates were known criminals, but they had no experience robbing trains. So they brought another London-based gang into the plan, a gang that did have experience with train robberies. This infamous gang was known as the South Coast Raiders. Slowly, the team grew, and eventually more than 15 people became part of the plan. They decided that the government train had to be robbed without firing a single shot. But this wasn't a simple job where you just stop a train and loot it. Months of planning went into it. On the 7th of August, 1963, at 6:50 p.m., the train departed from Glasgow Central Station toward London. It was scheduled to reach London Euston Railway Station at 4 a.m. the next morning. The train had a total of 12 cars. At 72 post office stations, postal staff would hang mailbags on special elevated racks. As the train passed through the platform, it would slow down slightly, and the staff inside would grab those bags using a metal hook. In the same way, mailbags meant for that station would be dropped onto the platform while the train was still moving. Through this process, mail was distributed to different stations without the train stopping. The car where the robbery was supposed to take place was not yet attached to the train. That car was safely parked at Nene Valley Railway Station. This car was called the HVP, High Value Packages, car, because it usually contained large amounts of cash sent by people through money orders to other cities. In 1960, 3 years before this incident, the Post Office Investigation Branch, IB, had instructed that security alarm systems be installed in HVP cars to improve safety. By 1961, 3 HVP cars had been fitted with these alarm systems. Older cars without alarms were kept in reserve. But the robbery day was crucial. On that day, the HVP cars equipped with security alarms were out of service, so a reserve car, numbered M30204M, had to be used, a car with no security system at all. This was a massive tip that the robbers received from a Royal Mail insider. When the train reached Nene Valley Railway Station after leaving Glasgow, railway staff connected the HVP car as the second car behind the engine. This was the first tip the robbers got. The second tip was even more important. Normally, HVP cars carried around £300,000 in cash, but because the previous week had been a bank holiday weekend, the amount of cash that day was close to £3 million. This meant that what happened that day was something that might occur once in several years. 12 times more money was being transported, and coincidentally, the alarm-equipped HVP car was also unavailable. But for the robbers, this wasn't a coincidence. They had been planning for this exact day for months. The train, with the HVP car attached, departed from Nene Valley Station. Night had fully set in, and the 58-year-old driver Jack Mills was driving toward his destination at speed. Nearby, the gang of robbers was already positioned close to the railway tracks. Everything was perfectly set. Around 3 a.m. on the 8th of August, 1963, one member of the gang began tampering with the Sears crossing signal. He blocked the green light by placing a glove in front of it and used a battery to power the red light. After that, everyone hid and waited for the train. When the train reached Sears Crossing, the driver was shocked to see the red signal, because normally trains, especially Royal Mail trains, were not stopped at this crossing. Still, Jack Mills applied the brakes and stopped the train exactly at the signal. Suddenly, silence took over again. Meanwhile, the assistant driver, also called the second man, got off the train to contact the signalman using the trackside telephone. When he picked up the phone, he realized the line had been cut, which was also part of the robbers' plan. As the second man turned back toward the engine, robbers emerged from the bushes and overpowered him. Some robbers climbed onto the engine from both sides and tried to take control of the driver. When Jack Mills resisted, one robber struck him on the head with a metal rod, knocking him unconscious on the driver's seat. The robbers had come fully prepared. While the chaos was happening in the engine, other team members detached the first two cars behind the engine from the rest of the train. Their plan was to move the train itself away from the spot, but to where? About 1 kilometer from Sears Crossing was Bradego Bridge, where the robbers had parked their truck. They had also brought along a retired train driver, whose job was to drive the train to Bradego Bridge. Up to this point, everything went exactly according to plan. But now, the robbers faced their first problem. The driver they had brought panicked after seeing the controls of the new engine. He had never operated this type of engine before. Left with no choice, the robbers tried to revive Jack Mills and forced him to drive the train for 1 kilometer. The engine and two cars started moving again and stopped at Bradego Bridge. During this time, the staff in the remaining cars had no idea why the train had stopped. At Bradego Bridge, the robbers broke open the door of the HVP car, entered inside, assaulted the 5 staff members, tied them face down with ropes, and began their operation. The HVP car contained a total of 128 cash bags, filled with £1, £5, and 10 shilling notes. The total weight was around 2.5 tons. The train was on the bridge, and a truck was parked on the road below. According to the plan, the robbers had only 15 minutes. They formed a human chain and transferred 120 out of the 128 bags into the truck, leaving 8 behind due to lack of time. The plan had worked almost perfectly, but one small mistake at the end would later help the police catch them. Before leaving, one robber warned the tied-up staff not to try to move for 30 minutes, or they would be killed. The robbers used an Austin Lodestar truck to transport the cash, along with 2 Land Rovers that carried identical license plates to confuse witnesses. After the robbery, they fled the scene. After a 45-minute drive, at around 4:30 a.m., they reached their hideout, located about 53 kilometers away, near a village called Oakley. During the drive, they were listening to police communications on VHF radio, which helped them significantly. At the same time they reached the hideout, police also became aware of the robbery. For the moment, the robbers were ecstatic. They celebrated at the hideout, partied heavily, and even played Monopoly using real cash. But their happiness lasted only a few minutes. Soon, through the radio, they learned that police were searching for them within a 50-kilometer radius. The police came up with the 50-kilometer radius based on the statement of the staff members whom the robbers had warned not to move for 30 minutes. Police knew that within half an hour, the robbers could not have gone beyond that distance. Hearing this, the robbers panicked. Their original plan was to leave the hideout on Sunday, but they moved it up to Friday. On Thursday, they divided the stolen money among themselves. The total stolen amount was around £2.5 million. According to some reports, each member received around £150,000, which was an enormous sum at the time, equivalent to about £3.9 million per person today. The remaining money was distributed among smaller helpers. Before leaving, they wiped their fingerprints from everything at the hideout and assigned one man the task of burning the hideout down after they left so that no evidence would remain. That man took the money but fled without burning the hideout. Meanwhile, police were searching throughout the Buckinghamshire area. Helicopters were circling overhead, police vehicles were racing through the streets, and national media coverage had turned the case into a sensation. Police announced a £10,000 reward for anyone providing information. A man living near the hideout came forward and informed police that there had been unusual activity there on the morning of the 8th of August. Based on suspicion, police immediately raided the hideout. It was a leather-slayed farmhouse, which the robbers had rented just 3 months earlier. Police found extensive evidence connected to the robbery: empty cash bags, mail items, and even the truck, hastily repainted yellow. Although the robbers had wiped their fingerprints, some fingerprints remained on the Monopoly board they had played with real money. These fingerprints proved to be a major breakthrough, as all the robbers had prior criminal records. The fingerprints matched those in police and Scotland Yard databases, revealing the real culprits. Within days, Police arrested 14 out of the 16 people involved. Only 2 escaped. One was the replacement train driver, whose real identity was never discovered, and the other was the Royal Mail senior security officer whose inside information made the entire plan possible. To this day, no one knows who that officer was, because he never revealed his real name or face. The court declared this robbery the biggest robbery of the century and sentenced almost all members of the gang to 30 years in prison. After the robbery, Bradego Bridge became famously known as Train Robbers Bridge, and it is still known by that name today. Jack Mills, the 58-year-old train driver, was never able to return to his job due to the head injury. 7 years later, he passed away due to trauma. We hope you will like and share this video wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for your love-filled comments. See you in the next amazing video.